Coach.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Coach. Hey, Coach.
Hey, Coach! Starring Ron Masak. With special guest stars Steve Garvey, Davey Lopes, and Steve Yeager. And now, here's Coach Ron Masak.
Okay, gang. Today we're going to talk baseball. This is Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California. And in the next few minutes, we're going to meet Major League stars Steve Garvey, Davey Lopes, and Steve Yeager. And in the next half hour, hopefully, we're going to learn how to play first base, run the bases properly, and get some tips on big league catching. All this and a lot more on Hey Coach, so don't go away. We'll be right back after this pitch. After this pitch, that was a baseball joke, you see. Okay. This is first base, and the man who protects it for the last couple of years for the Los Angeles Dodgers is Mr. Everything for the Dodgers, Mr. Consistency, the National League's most valuable player, the All-Star Game's most valuable player, back-to-back 200-hit seasons, a consistent 300-hitter, Steve Garvey. Steve, nice to have you with us.
Hi, Coach. How are you?
Very, very good.
Good.
Steve, we could talk about your offensive qualities for at least 3 or 4 hours, but we don't have that kind of time. So what we would like to do is point out that the most valuable player, besides doing things with the bat, has to do things in the field. And you're a Golden Glove winner. So we'd like to have you show our kids some of the Golden Glove things around first base that we're concerned about for them. They seem to have a lot of trouble playing first base with their feet, knowing which foot to put in which place. Could you give us a little demonstration of
Sure.
that?
Of course, the dances change for the kids every year, but basically at first base, the priorities are the basics. In other words, we can't get the runners out unless we keep our foot on the bag. And gang, the first thing you have to do is you have to learn how to get in position to receive every throw. So primarily the throws are going to come from third base, shortstop, and second base. So when I get ready, I come over to the bag and I put both heels right here on the bag. Now this way, if a throw is to this side, I can switch over and get my right foot right on the bag, right here. If it's an average throw, or a throw that's going to be right at me, here I can stretch out straight ahead and get the farthest possible stretch as possible. Okay, now what I try to do, being a right-handed first baseman, is I'm going to keep my right leg back with my toe touching the bag and stretch out with my left one. Now if it's a long throw, I'm going to get out as far as I possibly can, keeping that toe on the bag, okay? I'm going to extend out. Now, any throw that's above the level of my knee here, I'm going to catch it up. This way it's easier to come up with it. Any throw below the knee, I'm going to stick my glove down and catch it down in here. Now if it's a low throw in the dirt, I can give with it this way. I can give nice and easy. Now on a wild throw, where a throw is over in this area, now I shift over, okay? Now if you notice, I've got the corner of the bag and I can extend as far as I possibly can this way again. Again, any throw up, I'm going to catch the ball up here. Any throw down, I'm going to catch it in here. Okay, now to the country club side, over this way. There's not too many of them, but again, here I am, I'm going to switch. Okay, now, a lot of times I say to myself, ball's coming from this area, it's going to tail back. So should I come over and use this left leg and make it easier, or should I just pivot and stretch out? Well, that's a decision we have to make, because being a shorter first baseman, I have to make sure that primarily, number one, I keep my foot on the bag. So the safe way is just to come over and cross over and catch the ball. Again, now, when I cross over, I can stretch farther this way than I could if I shifted legs and went over. I can add another 6 inches by crossing over. So what we want to do at first base all the time is keep the right foot on the bag. For this side, we come over. Straight ahead, we come back. And over on this side, I just cross over this way. And it makes it much easier keeping your foot on the bag.
Thank you, Steve, and we'll be talking with you in a rep session a little later on. Now let's go right next door to Steve Garvey's neighbor here in Dodger Stadium, star second baseman Davey Lopes. How are you, Dave?
How you doing, Coach?
Nice to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Now, Davey Lopes is often thought of as a great offensive weapon because he steals 75 bases and he runs like an antelope around these bases, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But we'd be a little silly if we had the best second baseman in the National League and didn't ask him how to pick up a baseball. A lot of our kids, Davey, do have that problem of picking up a ball properly. You know, some coaches will tell them to put their feet together and keep the ball in front of them. And what's your philosophy on
Well, there's one key word I think is very important for all infielders or anyone in baseball. It's the word balance. And a lot of infielders spread out a lot. Some are close together. Just find the area which is most comfortable for you. If it should be a wide stance, which I use, mainly because I take long strides when I run, and I use the same philosophy as base stealing as I do in fielding. I use a wide stance, but usually it's usually the width of your shoulder, okay? So it's somewhere in here. And you're on the balls of your feet, which is right in here. Your heels are out of the ground. When I say your heels are out of the ground, I mean your cleats. You're not like this. You don't want to be leaning too far forward. And you don't want to be back on your heels where you don't have any balance. Like I said, that's the key word, balance. Get a comfortable stance, get down in ready position here, and when you feel the ball, you watch the ball come right into your glove like this. Pick it up, bring it to your chest, step, and throw.
Another thing that we get questions about, Davey, is the fact that the second baseman on the double play sometimes doesn't know which foot to hit the bag with or the proper way to pivot. So if I'll back off and pretend that I'm the shortstop, and if you'll show the kids how to make that pivot.
Well, the main thing is get to the bag as quickly as you can. And once you're here, I would teach kids at your age just to get on to straddle the bag, by that being this way here. Consequently, you just feel the ball from the shortstop, catch it on your left foot, and just throw. You don't really have to worry about a guy coming in and hitting you in Little League because he doesn't get there as quickly because he doesn't have a lead off of first base. He can't take a lead. Whereas when you get into higher baseball, you might have to do it a little differently, like high school and professional baseball whatsoever.
Okay, this is what you've been waiting for. We've been talking about the premier base runner in baseball right now, Davey Lopes. One problem our kids have, Davey, is when they're running the bases, and some of the smaller kids don't really have bases. They have flat bases and they skip and they slide, but they don't know which foot to hit with as they're rounding the base. Can you help us with that?
Okay. Now, it's not necessarily what foot you hit it with. Ideally, you should hit every bag on the inside part of the bag, right here on this corner, with your left foot. I say this ideally. You'll find maybe 5 runners in all of baseball who do this, mainly because when you come here, you lean, and there's a crossover step when you go. But what you find a mistake in most youngsters doing is they hit the bag in the middle. Consequently, it'll take you out and veer you way out, and you're covering more ground than necessary. You try to go in a straight line to third base or to second base or to home. And when you come in, it's just hitting with the left foot, short stutter step, boom.
Very good. I don't want to ask you to slide, Davey, because we know you have a game tonight. Some of the kids, though, that worry about sliding and the parents worry about them sliding, we see a lot of accidents happening where someone will stick that foot straight into the bag and try to come up.
Okay, now, I only use one slide. It's the straight-in slide, stand-up slide. And I don't teach any youngsters to do hook slides, fadeaways. You see a lot of kids trying to hook slide in the pits. It's very dangerous. Break your ankle very easily. Use a very fundamental slide, which is what I use. Lou Brock uses it. And most of the base runners today, the base stealers, use the same. It's just straight into the bag, and you come down. You actually only slide from here to here. You find a lot of guys using their thighs, and consequently, they get what is known as strawberries in baseball, or raspberries, whatever you want to call them. But you just come into the bag and make sure your cleat is up. This cleat is up, and you hit the bag like this. So then you come up like this, step on the bag, and go.
Thank you, Davey. We'll be back with more Hey Coach right after we touch base with you on these subjects. When the experts sit around talking about who the best defensive catcher is in baseball, the name that always comes out on top is the Dodger backstop, Steve YEAGER, and he's our guest right now. Steve?
Hi, Coach.
Hi, Coach. Oh, that's nice of you to say.
Oh, that's great.
Steve, we could talk about catching for 5 or 6 of our shows, but unfortunately we don't have that kind of time. So if you will, we'd like to have you tell the kids 4 or 5 of the basic principles about being a catcher.
Well, basically, Coach, you know, the thing about catching is a very demanding position. And you have to be an honorary type of person to really get back here and participate in the activities that surround this little wonderful place called home plate, right? But basically, the most important things, the easiest things to get involved to is positioning yourself behind the plate the way you should. Now, I'm not going to try to teach you how I do it my way. The only thing I want to express upon you is the way that feels comfortable for you to do it is the best way for you to do it. Not the way I do it, not the way Johnny Bench does it, not the way any other Major League catcher does it, or not the way your father says. But whichever way it feels comfortable for you to do it, then you do it. But basically, what we call is what I would call is two signs. There's a sign-giving position and a ready position. The most important thing to think about and remember about catching is always expect a bad pitch. Never expect a pitcher to stand out there and throw you one right down the middle of the plate, because it'll never happen. He'll throw it over your head. He'll throw it 2 feet outside to your right, throw you 2 feet out to your left. He may throw it 3 feet in front of you in the dirt. So always expect a bad pitch. You've got your mind set for that pitch, and if it does happen, you can stop it. And if it gets a good pitch, you can handle that too. But a sign-giving position is very easy. Really, all you do is at your age, you're not throwing a lot of breaking balls, curve balls, or sliders, or screw balls, or knuckle balls, or fork balls, or spit balls, or anything else like that. Basically, all you're doing is throwing raw heat, like I call, right? So basically, the signs is 1 is a fastball, 2 is a curve, 3 is a slider, and 4 is a changeup. Now, after you've given a sign to the pitcher, the most important thing to remember is to always lead with your left foot. Now, you're going from a sign-giving position to a ready position, and you lead with your left all the time. You can go inside or outside, depending upon the hitter. Coach, would you like to stand up here, please?
All right,
the coach is the left-handed hitter. Now, I'm going to call for a fastball on the outside part of the plate. All right? I give the sign, I move with my left, I'm here and back, and I'm on the outside part of the plate. Right? Now, if the coach was a right-handed hitter, meaning he would be over here on this side. Thank you, Coach. Right? Now, I've called a fastball, we're going on the outside part of the plate, away from him. I stick the one finger down, telling the pitcher I'd like to have a fastball. He says, okay. I move with my left, and I'm out with my right, and I'm on the outside part of the plate. This is very important when you get up to the higher class of ball, because a lot of times teams will look for things like that to give a location, a pitch away to a hitter, and they'll whistle or yell or scream or do something. The next thing you know, the pitcher's down 4-0.
Let me duck on the other side.
All right.
Well, that was an excellent answer, wasn't it, kids? That's the best way. Steve, we notice a lot of young people today are using, well, the major leaguers are, as a matter of fact. In the last 10 years, the one-handed catcher has come into its prominence. Would you advise teaching a young kid to start off catching with the one hand?
Well, I think as far as one, I used to use a two-handed glove, which was called a no-break glove. And a no-break glove would be a round, flat glove with no break in it whatsoever. There is a break here that you can see, which makes this more like a first baseman's mitt. And I think that this glove has more advantage over the two-handed glove. Basically, I'll tell you why. On a two-handed glove, you have to catch it two hands, right? So when you have to catch a ball two-hand, the upper part of your body moves. Now, you have an umpire behind you, and he's trying to see the pitch as it comes across the plate to call it a ball or a strike. And if with all this moving around with your upper part of your body, he cannot move, he cannot see the pitch to call it a strike or ball. So if you use the one-handed method with the one-break glove, which I feel that everybody is going to use, is that you can move just your left arm and you can get the pitches without it. And versus this way with a two-handed glove, I can go that way and just moving my left shoulder to catch the ball. And I think it has its advantages over the two-handed glove because of the fact that the umpire can see the pitch, and it's a little better, it's a little easier to handle. You can catch more pitches more often with this than you can with the two-break glove.
We asked Steve, Davey Lopes, and Steve Garvey the same questions on several different subjects we thought you might be interested in, and we called them our quick tips. Fellas, how do you select a glove, and how do you suggest a young person select their own glove?
The way I would tell these young people here to select a glove is, it's not whose glove it is, whose name's on a glove, but which glove that you can handle, which glove you can get the most performance and the most satisfaction out of using. It's just as simple as that.
I think the biggest thing is finding a glove that fits your hand, and it gives a good protection both around the thumb area and by the pinky area. I think is most important.
I use a glove, predominantly real small glove, mainly because it's very conducive to turning a double play. You do not want to use a glove that's very large, simply because you couldn't find the ball when you had to turn the double play.
No two major leaguer uses the same bat. How do you select a bat? And how do you suggest a young person select their own bat?
Too thick a handle can cause a boy to be uncoordinated in his swing, to cause unnatural movements. Too thin a bat handle can cause him to be over-realistic as far as swinging a bat and thinking it's really a lot faster than what it is. But a bat that's comfortable to him, I would rather have a child use a bat that's a little lighter than a little heavier.
Well, I would suggest all individuals or young children mainly to select a bat which is most comfortable for them, a bat that they can handle.
I think the most important thing is in selecting any equipment as far as gloves and bats and balls and whatever, is whatever feels comfortable for you to use.
On the subject of bunting, what is your philosophy?
The Dodgers teach where you just square around and the bat is at eye level. And you do not, this is the best way to have it because if the ball's low, it's easier to lower your bat than it is to rise up and hit the ball. So when you get it, you move your hand, your front hand, which is your right hand if you're a right-handed batter, up to the label of the bat, and just push the bat, meet the ball.
I turn my whole body, I slide my top hand up, and I'm like this. You always want to keep the bat up high because it's easier to go from this position to here and get the ball on the ground where you want it than it is to go from here to here, because if you do that, your chances of popping the ball up are much greater.
I go up with a regular stance. I try to go up here, and then as the ball's being delivered, I'll drop the right foot back. I'll slide my hand up, and I'm going to get the bat in a position to drop it down the third base line. Because with my speed, that's just about the only area that I can get on base. If I try to go to first base, I don't have the real outstanding speed to beat it out and cause a pitcher to hurry or first baseman to hurry.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with more Hey Coach. Okay, we're back now with the rap session, and this gives the kids the opportunity to ask our players something they've always wanted to know. Felicia, you have a question?
This is for Steve Garvey. Why do some players, when they bat, wear gloves?
Well, Felicia, we try to get a good grip on the bat. By using a leather glove along with pine tar or rosin, we can get a good grip on the bat. As a right-handed hitter, we usually have it on the left hand, and with a left-handed hitter, it'd be on the right hand. So we're primarily using that batting glove to get a real tight grip so that we don't slip on the bat handle.
This is for Davey Lopes. How does he get such a good jump on the pitcher?
Well, there's certain key areas that you look for in his delivery to the plate: his shoulder, the back of his left kneecap, whether he'll be leaning to the plate as compared to being straight up. On left-handers, I look in the groin area. They'll make like a right angle when they come to first base, and they'll close it when they go home. They'll lean back. Some pitchers lean back, they're like in a rocking chair, and throw to first base. There's just all different type of flaws or idiosyncrasies that the pitchers have, and when they throw to first base as compared to home plate, and a good base stealer can pick up these keys very quickly and react on them instantaneously.
This is for Steve Yeager. I'd like to know what kind of thoughts he gets when he sees someone start to steal a base.
Well, I tell you, the thoughts I get is panic, just terror, especially when you got guys like Joe Morgan and you got Lou Brock and you got some other guys that can run the bases pretty well. The main thought that I want to do is I want to give half a chance by the pitcher. I mean, a catcher cannot throw a man out unless the pitcher does his job correctly. If a pitcher takes a big, long wind-up, the runner is halfway down by the time the catcher gets the ball, and you just might as well just eat it. That's an old expression saying just don't even waste your time throwing. But I think the tendency for every catcher is you don't want a guy to steal on you. I know I don't. And with half a chance, I feel I can throw anybody out that attempts to steal. I don't know if I could throw David out because he's on my own team, but I'd try.
This is for Davey Lopes. I want to know which catcher is hardest to steal a base off of.
Well, I would say the catcher that gives me the most trouble is probably Jerry Grody for the New York Mets. But, like, if you know anything about baseball, you don't actually steal off the catcher. You're stealing off that pitcher, I would say, 95% of the time. And like Steve says, if the pitcher's doing his job, he's going to have an excellent shot at throwing you out. So I try to look for those key areas again, and consequently, as soon as I see him, I react quickly, and a good percentage of the time, I'm pretty successful.
We'd like to ask you if you have anything you'd like to say to the kids that's never been asked of you as athletes. Jake?
Well, I'm always one for a hand. I'll grab a hold of a mic anytime. You know, I tell you, we've got some very well-educated gentlemen that play the game of baseball for a living. Not only do they have that fine education, I know these two guys sitting next to me both went to college. I had the opportunity to go to college. I had a few scholarships offered to me when I was in high school. But I turned them all down to sign to play professional baseball, and I figured, well, I can go the winter route, you know, in between seasons. I can get an education, get something, some type of business education to fall back on. At about 4 years into minor league ball, I felt like quitting, you know, and I says, well, what do I have here? I said, I'm wasting my time. I should have went to college, and I got that college education, and I wouldn't have to worry about this game. And then finally I made the big leagues, and now I'm here. I think I'm here to stay for a while. I'm starting to make good money. I'm starting to make a name for myself, and things are starting to fall in. But a few years ago, they didn't. So the only advice that I can pass on to you kids is that you guys, if you have a chance to play sports in college and you got a chance to sign with a professional team, I'd really weigh the situation about taking that education, taking that opportunity to take that scholarship and play the game of baseball or football or basketball or whatever it is, and get the education, because today you got to have an education to survive, and those that do have it, it'll come in handy for you. That's the only advice I like to give, is get that education. It's very important.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's about it for Hey Coach for this week. Next week we're going to be visiting with the NBA, and stars Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dave Collins, Rick Barry, and Gail Goodrich. So until then, if you have anything you'd like to find out about sports, stop me on the street and yell, "Hey Coach." See you then. Today we're going to talk baseball. This is Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California. And in the next few minutes, we're going to meet Major League stars Steve Garvey, Davey Lopes, and Steve Yeager. And in the next half hour, hopefully, we're going to learn how to play first base, run the bases properly, and get some tips on big league catching. All this and a lot more on Hey Coach, so don't go away. We'll be right back after this pitch. After this pitch, that was a baseball joke, you see. Okay.
Shortstop and second base. So when I get ready, shortstop and second base. So when I get in second base. So when I get.
This is for Davey Lopes. How does he get such a good jump on the pitcher?
Well, there's certain key areas that you look for in his delivery to the plate: his shoulder, the back of his left kneecap, whether he'll be leaning to the plate as compared to being straight up. On left-handers, I look in the groin area. They'll make like a right angle when they come to first base, and they'll close it when they go home. They'll lean back. Some pitchers lean back, they're like in a rocking chair, and throw to first base. There's just all different type of flaws or idiosyncrasies that the pitchers have, and when they throw to first base as compared to home plate. And a good base stealer can pick up these keys very quickly and react on them instantaneously.
This is for Steve Yeager. I'd like to know what kind of thoughts he gets when he sees someone start to steal a base.
Well, I tell you, the thoughts I get is panic, just terror, especially when you got guys like Joe Morgan, and you got Lou Brock, and you got some other guys that can run the bases pretty well. The main thought that I want to do is I want to give half a chance by the pitcher. I mean, a catcher cannot throw a man out unless the pitcher does his job correctly. If a pitcher takes a big, long wind-up, the runner is halfway down by the time the catcher gets the ball, and you just might as well just eat it. That's an old expression saying just don't even waste your time throwing. But I think the tendency for every catcher is you don't want a guy to steal on you. I know I don't. And with half a chance, I feel I can throw anybody out that attempts to steal. I don't know if I could throw David out because he's on my own team, but I'd try.
For Davey Lopes, how does he get such a good jump on the pitcher?
This is for Steve Yeager. I'd like to know what kind of thoughts he gets when he sees someone start to steal a base. Yeager, I'd like to know what kind of thoughts he gets when he sees someone start to steal a base. This is for Steve Yeager. I'd like to know what kind of thoughts he gets when he sees someone start to steal a base. This is for Steve Yeager. I'd like to know what kind of thoughts he gets when he sees someone start to steal a base.
This is for Davey Lopes. I want to know which catcher is hardest to steal a base off of. Davey Lopes. I want to know which catcher is hardest to steal a base off of.
Well,